Fuck me sideways.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Comically Boston. My name is Big Cam, and today we are breaking down episode 4 of House of the Dragon Season 2. And this episode was titled The Red Dragon and the Gold. And, man, if, we're going to be talking big spoilers for this episode, breaking down everything that happened, all the juicy details. This one is heartbreaking, right? My girl, Rhaenys, rest in peace, what a fucking legend. Rhaenys, you're up there. Wow, you went out like an absolute champion. Also, Rhaenys and Meleys. But let's get right into it. First off, this poster that we got here. Oh man, it looks like it's young Rhaenyra, EMIAIL Rhaenyra, and she's got a tiara that it looks like dragons fighting in her hair, so I thought that was a clever or perfect poster for this episode, because we start off with this little behind the scenes clip of the actress that plays Rhaenys, and I can't agree with her more.
Fuck me sideways.
Fuck me sideways indeed, you poor thing. You were a legend, you were one of my favorites, and we'll see what happens to her by the end of this episode. But previously on the last episode of House of the Dragon, episode 3, Daemon took Harrenhal. Aemond got caught by his brother at a brothel and got laughed at and embarrassed. That's going to turn out to be a bad move for King Aegon. Rhaenyra and Alicent talked at the end of the last episode, and that was a big, moment between them. And Rhaenyra found out that it's too late. So after that recap, we jumped right into the intro. The intro had no updates, so it's looking like maybe every 2 weeks there'll be an update because of what happens at the end of this episode. I'd almost guarantee the start of episode 5 in the tapestries is going to be added next week. So stay tuned for that and we'll see if they update it. But we open up on Daemon, and he looks to be having one of his nightmares caused by Harrenhal, and he is in an empty throne room at King's Landing. And he hears High Valyrian speaking, and he finds out that it's coming from a young Rhaenyra sitting on the throne, played by EMIAIL back again. I was like, hey, how about that? I didn't think any of the young actresses or actors from the first season were going to be coming back, but apparently EMIAIL was just that good that they had to bring her back. But her and Matt Smith obviously have this great connection too. But she's speaking High Valyrian at him, and she says, "You created me, Daemon, and now you are set on destroying me. All because your brother loved me more than you." And she says all this in High Valyrian, and that kind of draws the straw. And Daemon lops off her head, and I was like, oh my god, he just lopped off his niece at this point, right? Because he wasn't married to EMIAIL Rhaenyra. But this is obviously going to be his wife in the future, and he's like, clearly having nightmares, but also, it's his own thoughts getting warped in his own head, and he's like mad at her, but also wants to be king, but also wants to be with her. And she's wearing the crown that she's been wearing, but it's like oversized for her, like showing how much of a kid she was when EMIAIL was playing her. And, it's only until later where Emma Darcy, I believe that's her name, Rhaenyra, the crown actually fits. But he lops off the head, and then the head on the ground keeps talking to him. So if that doesn't show you how much of a dream this is, it should. In the middle of the dream, Daemon starts hearing, "There has been a raven," and Daemon snaps out of the dream, and he looks at his hand, and his hand's bleeding for some reason. But Simon Strong tells him what has been happening. The Lord of Harrenhal we met last episode, that swore fealty to Daemon and Rhaenyra. But Simon Strong tells Daemon that 2 houses have been added to Aegon's army, and Sir Criston's army has now tripled in strength. And the grandson of Tully, instead of Tully himself like Daemon wanted, the grandson of Tully meets Daemon, and Daemon was not having this, starts shit-talking this poor little kid, and he's like, "Are you here to command the Tully's troops?" And he goes, "No, that's not how we do it." And he's like, "Then you are of no use to me. The Tullys are a fish with no head," and he's talking mad shit to him, and it's like, ooh, alright, I don't want to be on Daemon's bad side after all these nightmares. He hasn't been sleeping, poor guy. And Daemon tells Sir Simon Strong to summon the Blackwoods. I need men for my army. And he storms away. And then we cut over to Rhaenys, one of her few scenes left in this show, unfortunately. And she cuts over to meeting Alan. And Alan addresses her as your grace or your lord or whatever. And she goes, "It's princess." And he corrects her and he goes, "I'm sorry, princess." And she touches Alan's face and she goes, "Your mother must have been very beautiful." And this, immediately I was like, oh fuck, these are Corlys's bastards. And Rhaenys isn't even like, "You look like my lord husband." She immediately goes to the other side of things. "Your mother must have been very beautiful," as in the sea snake's been slanging around his sea snake, not in his wife, you know what I mean? Like, fuck you, Corlys, you cheating bastard. I get it, out on sea can be a very long time away from home, but fuck you. Rhaenys was the goat. You don't cheat on Rhaenys like that. Come on. But then Corlys sees this happening. Corlys kind of walks up and saves Alan. Goes, "Don't you have work to do?" He goes, "Yes, sir," and walks away. And then Corlys and Rhaenys talk. Rhaenys says to Corlys, "I know who he is, Corlys. And Alan's past is no fault of his own." Meaning, right, like, anywhere you have him right now is on you. And he's like, "Rrr." And then she says to Corlys that she has come to tell him that Baela has called her to Dragonstone to discuss what's happening with the troops. And he's like, "Where is Rhaenyra gone?" And she goes, "I suspect to draw us back from the abyss." And then we cut over to Alicent getting scared by a knock at the door. And it is the Grand Maester back at King's Landing for Team Green. And as the door knocks and she gets frightened, she drops a dragon that's one of Viserys's little sculptures that he made. And this dragon dropping and wing shattering, I was like, uh-oh, is this going to mean that some dragons are going to be dropping out of the sky later? And it's kind of, you know, a reflection of that, teasing what's going to be maybe coming towards the later parts of this episode. But the Maester brought her tea, and it's that moon tea that we've heard of from season 1 a couple of times. And she's like, "Yes, I'll get it to the girl that needs it." And she asked the Maester, what did you think Viserys would want with his succession? Would he have wanted King Aegon? And he's like, "I'm sorry, Your Grace, he never discussed the topic with me." And he leaves. And Alicent takes the tea, right? So now she just lied to the Maester's face. She's the one that wants to drink the tea. So she doesn't want Criston Cole's baby, or maybe she's already feeling pregnant and this tea's not going to work so well. I don't know. I have a feeling here that either she just got rid of Criston Cole's baby, or she's too late and she's gonna have Criston Cole's baby anyways. But we cut back to the Black's small council, and Baela is addressing the groups, and she's telling them what she has seen on back of Moondancer. And she's like, "Criston Cole is moving by nightfall underneath the tree, so we can't see him. We don't know what he's doing. He has taken," you know, probably saying that he has taken the other 2 houses, and he is marching towards Harrenhal type stuff. And I don't know if it's a blackfish or what, but he like stands up, he's all pissy, and he's like, "Come on, what are we doing?" And they all start arguing. They don't know where Rhaenyra is, or Daemon is. There's no hand of the queen. And he's like, "Why should we listen to you, Rhaenys? You're not hand of the queen." And Corlys walks in and sets it straight and goes, "What has happened to this council?" and sets them all straight. So Corlys comes in to save the day a little bit there. But then we cut to a bloody, bloody beach. And Sir Criston Cole on this bloody beach is addressing all the men and people that they have now just beat in a battle. And he's saying, "Bend the knee." And he calls Rhaenyra the whore of Dragonstone. Pretty much takes the leader of their House Darkland, I think it is. The leader here goes, "Is there no honor left in this world, Cole? Sacking your queen's own castles and putting her people to the sword? You are not fit of the white cloak." Kingmaker spits at his feet. Sir Criston Cole kind of looks at him. He's like, "You should be honored. I'm giving you a better death than a traitor deserves." And lops off his head in kind of like, you know, Ned Stark ways. He who passes the sentence should swing the sword. So as he lops off the head, the rest of the men kind of take a knee and kneel. And you're like, well, alright, Sir Criston Cole might be winning this battle on foot here, because he is been in battle before. He's the hand of the king, and he's sacrificing his own life in the process and putting himself out there to fight in these battles. But at the same time, you know, he's collecting men, and if they're not joining them, they're dying. So, you know, if they're not with them, then they're not going to be with Rhaenyra, you know, so he's winning on that front as well. His army has tripled in size. Uh-oh. But we see Kristen get a letter after he lops off this head, and he reads his Raven mail, and he goes, "We're gonna go east." And Sir Gawain, talking shit like he normally has been this whole last couple episodes since introducing him, he's like, "Cole, I know you're not highborn and you're not from this area, but Harrenhal is west." And he goes, "I know, we're going east." And Gawain's like, "What the fuck is going on here? We're supposed to be taking Harrenhal." Like, alright, so they go east. But then we cut back to Aegon, pissed at his House Green small council back at King's Landing. And he is yelling at Larys Strong, and he goes, "How the fuck did Daemon of all people take your castle? It's yours! What the fuck?" And he's like, Larys points out, he goes, "Harrenhal is more crippled than me, sir." He goes, "Daemon doesn't have the troops or the faculty to run the facility," and he goes, "He doesn't have any gold in Harrenhal because I am controlling all of the coin, so he's not getting anything out of Harrenhal except the haunting of Harrenhal, and he's losing his mind while he tries to make Harrenhal a suitable refuge, you know, like, and he's not wrong." Aemon says Harrenhal must wait. Sir Criston is marching on Rook's Rest. And Aegon's pissed. He's like, "What do you mean? I gave no such orders." And Aemon here is kind of taking control of the army with Cole. And Aemon speaks High Valyrian at him, talking shit. He's like, "Your fucking new Kingsguard are lick spittles." And he talks mad shit in fluent High Valyrian. He kind of sits back with a scar on his eye patch. And he's like, "Don't you think, my king? Like, don't you agree, my king?" And then what fucking Aegon says back to him, because Aegon's just trying to prove that he's a big strong man, but he's just really not. And Aegon speaks back to him in High Valyrian and goes, "I can have to make a war." And Aemon kind of just sits back and proves, right, like, yeah, I'm the better general and I probably would be a better king as well, but I'm a fighter and I'm on Dragonback, so thank you, my king. We'll follow through with my plan unless you have better thoughts of your own. And of course, Aegon had none. Then we cut to a scene of Alicent in her room, and she's heating up stones and putting them on her stomach. So I'm thinking maybe that moon tea didn't work so well, or maybe it's now affecting her stomach and making her sick. But Larys talks to her and notices the tea, and he's like, "Yes, a rather indulgent." She tried to lie to him and say that it wasn't from the tea and that it was other shit, but Larys is too smart for her. Doesn't call her out though, just starts talking and goes, "You must worry for Sir Criston," meaning, "Oh, are you worried that you're carrying Sir Criston's baby and he's out fucking fighting?" And she doesn't, like, fall into that ploy or anything. Larys says, "You haven't been yourself lately," and she's like, "Really? Because my lord husband was just alive a few weeks ago," right? So it's only been a few weeks since Viserys has died in real time, since, you know, season 1 ended and season 2 it's been, you know, almost a year, but still. It was like a couple weeks, man. A few weeks since Viserys has died. And now Jaehaerys, her grandson, has died. You know, whatever else tragedies has been going on. She almost got assassinated by Rhaenyra last episode, you know, or she could have. Some wild shit. And so she's like, "Forgive me if I haven't been myself lately. I've been grieving, and then before I can even grieve one thing, another thing happens." She was like, "So a lot's been going on. Forgive me if I haven't been myself." And Larys is like, "I didn't know you were a history buff like your late husband Viserys." So, and Alicent talks to Larys and goes, "The war will be fought, many will die, and the victor will ascend the throne." Whatever intentions Viserys had, his wishes died with him. And it's like, ooh, you're like, oh my god, she's not wrong, but it's like, damn, is this about to take a turn for a bloody second half of the season? It very may will. But we cut back to Daemon at Harrenhal, and he's having yet another nightmare. And he's following a man with a torch down the halls of Harrenhal. And he finally catches up to the man with the torch and realizes that he's following a man that looks like Aemond, with the eye patch and the long white hair, but he turns around and it's actually Matt Smith that looks like Aemond, even furthering the parallels that we're supposed to see Uncle Daemon and Aemond as similar characters, and I really think they're going to come head to head at the end of this season, or even the next couple episodes, and it's going to be crazy. But genuinely, I don't think it would be a good idea, but I genuinely think by the end of season 2, we're either going to lose Daemon, Matt Smith, or we're going to lose Aemond in Vhagar, right? Like, so we're already down some dragons after this episode. We're going to get to that in one moment, but like, some crazy shit, man. Some real crazy shit. So he sees himself with an eye patch, and then he comes across Alice Rivers, and she's like, sleep can be thin in this place. Harrenhal has been cursed since the first stone was laid. And he goes, you're a strange woman. Do not try me with your insolence, witch. You know, like, he has a bunch of lines in this where he's just so good, but I don't know, he kind of likes her, I think. But Alice Rivers here is also a bastard, and she's a bastard from the Riverlands, so if she was from the north, she would be a Snow, but because she's from the Riverlands, she is a Rivers. Makes sense? Cool. But she gives him a sleeping tea, and as he's about to sip the sleeping tea, it cuts from him, like, about to sip it. So, like, normally, you know, wouldn't he sip it, and then we see him go to bed, and then wake up, and the next day. But this place is so haunted, and feels so weird that he takes a sip, and it cuts, like, weirdly. Like, he's in another outfit now, and it's the next day, and he's now talking to the leader of the Blackwoods. And the leader of the Blackwoods says, I once vied for Queen Rhaenyra's hand. Right? So this is the same Blackwood as the same kid from season 1. This young kid that fought a bracket back then, I believe, won back then, even as a young kid. So now this is him as a grown man. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Alright, cool. I was like, I love when that type of stuff happens. Now, it doesn't look remotely the same person, but, you know, if it's still the Blackwoods, so it's got to be him. And as Daemon's talking to the leader of the Blackwoods and whatnot, he's like, what can I do for you? And he goes, you told me to come here. What can I do for you? What are you talking about? Are you losing your mind right now? And then someone's pouring him water, and he looks up and he sees his old wife, friggin' Baela's mom, the one that friggin' got Dracarys by Vhagar when she was like having a miscarriage or something. You know, so she got suicide cremated by a dragon, you know, real quick. So obviously this isn't her pouring him water, but he sees her and he's like, what the fuck? And then, like, he's really, like, losing it. I don't know what this bitch Alice Rivers gave him in that tea, but certainly wasn't no moon tea or sleep tea, you know what I'm saying? But we cut back to Aegon, terribly bored at his small council meeting, and he storms out, and then they keep talking afterwards like he's not even useful to them. So they're just like, yeah, we're going to carry on without the king. And he goes back to his room and talks to Alicent. And Alicent's like, where are your father's books? And he goes, I had them removed. And she's like, without even thinking about how much knowledge was in those books. And he goes, I had them removed. I didn't burn them. And she's like, oh. And he's like, the small council doesn't care what I think. She's like, what thoughts would you have? And he goes, I'm king. And she goes, do you think wearing the crown imbues you with wisdom? You should humbly be seeking our counsel. You have no idea the sacrifices that were made to put you on that throne. He goes, what should I do, mother? And I have this great clip of him asking what he should do and her response. So let's play this real quick.
What would you have me do, mother?
Do simply what is needed of you. Nothing.
Do simply what is needed of you. Nothing. And he's like so sad and just starts drinking in his room. And he's like, oh, poor Aegon. I really hated him at first, but now I'm like, yeah, the actor's just so good as Aegon. He's starting to like give you this two sides of the coin where he's a complete twerp and asshole, but then times where you kind of feel for him and you're like, no, fuck you, you're Team Green, I don't like you. But then we cut over to the battle, and Sir Gawain is like, we should go in by night. And he goes, no, if we go in now, they won't be expecting it. And he goes, broad daylight? He goes, yeah, they won't be expecting it because it will be mad. And he goes, what, are you afraid? And he goes, I'm not afraid, I'm worse, I'm rational. And he goes, I want to go now, so we're going. So Cole decides that they're going in day battle to Rook's Rest. And this is the Battle of Rook's Rest we're about to see. It's about to get crazy. But we cut back to Rhaenyra made her way back to her small council meeting, still in her shame robes with the man that went with her. And we find out that the man that went with her is the son of House Darkland, the man that just got his head lopped off by Kristen Cole. So he's sad about that. But the blacks now decide what's going to go on here and what happens. And Jace is like, "It's been days, where have you been?" And she's like, I inherited 80 years of peace from my father. I needed to know that there was no end to what's about to happen, and now I do. So now we can go ahead and have Bloody Dragon War, because I have found out that there is no possible other ways to settle this, and this is the only way that is going to end. And Jace goes, "We are ready and waiting." And Rhaenyra goes, "There are those who have mistaken my caution for weakness." And Rhaenyra wants to go to Rook's herself and fight, and Jace says, "Let me go." And she goes, "You lack experience." And Rhaenys steps up. And Rhaenys is so proud to step up in her outfit. Ooh, she looks so goddamn good. I love the actress that plays Rhaenys. She's so badass. And she steps up and goes, "You must send me." And everyone's like, uh-oh. You know, like I could tell as soon as she said this. I was like, oh no, I don't even know what happens in the books. You know, I've heard obviously some spoiler talk on the internet, but I was like, oh no, I know this is going to end poorly for poor Rhaenys here. And she goes, "Meleys is your largest dragon and the one that has seen the most amount of battle," right? Because she's an old dragon, and her and Rhaenys have been bonded together for 40 years, right? So the two of them have seen battle together, and Meleys before Rhaenys was also a fighter and, you know, had been in battles. So Meleys was certainly equipped for this. She was the largest of the Black's dragons. I didn't know this. I thought maybe Daemon's dragon was longer, but I don't know. Daemon's dragon's kind of thin and nimble, but has definitely the longest neck. You know what I mean? But obviously, you know, even if they're the largest Black's dragon, they still have to go up against Vhagar, and Vhagar's fucking massive. So we'll get to that though. And so Rhaenys says, "I will go meet Cole," and we cut back to Aegon, drunk in his room alone, hits over the pitcher, it shatters, and storms out of his room. Jace goes and talks to Rhaenyra, his mother, and says, "I only wish to fight for you." And Rhaenyra grabs his hand and starts to tell him, "As heir, I should have told you this a long time ago," right? And starts to tell him of Aegon's dream and the Song of Ice and Fire and the dagger and what Viserys told her and all of this shit. And I believe even in the background you can see, I don't know if that's Balon or one of the dragons with horns and shit in the background, a skull in the middle of that. Kind of like the skull that was in the background when Viserys told Millie Alcock's Rhaenyra about the succession and what all the heirs have passed down since Aegon himself. Aegon the Conqueror, that is. You know, there's a lot of Aegons, a lot of names, a lot of similar names. But then we cut to Rhaenys saddling up Meleys, and she goes, "We're off to battle again, old girl," and gives her like a hug. And this was so heartbreaking. She like looks her in the eye and she's like hugging her, and I'm like, oh no, don't leave, Rhaenys, don't leave. Oh fuck. But we see her saddle up and take off in her armor and the crowd that she got, the queen that never was. Oh, she looks so badass on Dragonback, and she's heading over to Rook's Rest. So all while Rhaenyra's talking to Jace about the secret of the heir, Rhaenys saddled up, and also Aegon is saddling up Sunfire back in King's Landing. And all while Rhaenyra's explaining this to Jace, she goes, "The horrors I've just loosed cannot just be for a throne alone. The Song of Ice and Fire." And then we cut to the Battle of Rook's Rest, and Rhaenys burns a field, and we see Vhagar is hiding. And, you know, he senses like another dragon coming. He goes to like get up, and he goes, not yet, and just kind of plummets back down into these bushes. And Vhagar's green, so he's like hiding in the forest right now. And just the way he kind of like, or I think Vhagar's a she actually, the way she just like plopped down into the trees, and you just see the big breath come out. You're like, oh man, not only does it look so good, it just, I really like Vhagar and Aemond, but I hate Team Green, you know what I'm saying? While Vhagar is hiding, we see Aegon wearing the Conqueror's armor, riding into battle. And this is kind of like a mock Aegon's armor. It can't be real stuff, because Aegon's crown wouldn't have had just one rupee in it, right? Like, it would have been decked out with rubies and cool as fuck, right? Like, I don't know. This Aegon's not so cool. as we look up, Cole on the ground with Sir Gawain. Gawain's like, whose dragon is that? And he's like, that's the king's. And he goes, this was your plan? To send the king into battle? And he goes, no, this was not my plan. Not my plan. And he kind of like, but he goes, okay, I'm going to use this. And Sir Kristen Cole kind of rallies his troops. He goes, your king has come to fight with you. Advance, right? And they all charge into battle in a field where it really doesn't matter because it's all of Aegon's troops in this field, and then it's Rhaenyra's team in the castle trying to hold them out, and then it really just turns into dragons battling, and it just makes all of the people on the ground useless. And Kristen Cole sees this, and he's like, wow, I've been in a lot of wars, but these dragons, man, make all soldiers useless, really. I really thought we were going to get one of those, like, crank it up, shoots the arrows, kills the dragon thing, but not this episode. But we did see that they had those things at King's Landing, at least. So I don't know, maybe we're gonna see some dragon get shot by what is that, a harpoon or whatever. But man, tough. But Sunfire and Aegon charge Meleys, and he goes Dracarys and blows fire at Meleys, and then goes through the fire, both of them, and then Aegon's kind of just looking around like, where'd she go? And Meleys hits Sunfire from below, scratches his gut, Sunfire's flailing, Sunfire's blood from his stomach and belly area bleeds all over Aegon's men on the ground, melting his own men, right? So it's not like, almost like acid blood, it's so hot and lava-like. And then after spills the blood on the guys on the ground, Sunfire gets back up in the air, and Meleys hits him from the top. So poor Sunfire got it from below and on top from Meleys. But as this is happening, and Meleys and Sunfire are fighting, then we hear Vhagar, and just the size of Vhagar, right? They made the scale of this look so good, and it's so hard because you're looking at a dragon in a sky, so how do you show scale? And he like is flapping behind the trees, and he's flying, and there's like a forest, and you can't see him, but then you start to see him just creep over the forest, and then all of a sudden he comes up over the forest. You see his wingspan is like 200 trees that way, 100 trees that way, and he's just fucking woof, woof, and his tail is like 200 people long, you know what I mean? Like, it's so crazy how big this dragon really is. And then he gets up in the sky, and you see Aegon coming in, and Aegon sees Vhagar coming in, and he's like, oh, thank the gods, and then he realizes that he's just gonna Dracarys both of them. And I think Aemon's like, hey, I love my brother, but at the same time, he laughed at me last episode, and I didn't really dig that, so he's going down. And so he attacks, and he friggin' fire Dracarys the both of them, and Sunfire falls out of the sky and is grounded. And Rhaenys goes back for another attack, and it's dragon v dragon in the sky, and it is messy. And you can really tell why in the books they said Targaryens are closer to gods than men. Because look at these knights on the ground, just, they can't do anything but watch. And you just see these two specks in the sky of just fire, and it's these two dragons just going at it. But you can really see the scale there, where Vhagar's on the right, and his wingspan is so big, and you can almost see the holes in his wings as the light's passing through. And then Meleys on the other side is just so much smaller than Vhagar. Vhagar's so big, and Meleys is supposed to be the biggest of the blacks. I don't know, man. I still think Daemon is bigger. His dragon, at least. But Vhagar and Meleys meet in the sky, and Meleys tries to scratch Vhagar's underside, much like she did to Sunfire. And but as she gets a scratch in, Vhagar grabs the foot of Meleys and just is holding her and is blowing fire, and it looks so crazy up in the sky like this as Vhagar's just and big ass Vhagar's blowing fire, and you see fire flying behind and over and around Rhaenys, and the same thing for Aemond. And Meleys is fighting, they're twirling and twirling and holding together. And I have a whole clip of this as they plummet to the ground, and then Sir Kristen Cole gets knocked out. But let's play the clip.
Angos Meleys.
So we see Kristen Cole black out there at the end of that clip, but oh my god, just how that looked and how it was shot. It was so beautifully edited too. And they spiral into the ground and bam, they hit, and Vhagar is much heavier than Meilise, so Meilise kind of recovers. And I don't know if she's kind of like 2 feet off the ground, she's back in the air flying away, but Vhagar slams the ground and slams on his own troops and knocks over everybody, and it's like a big slam, and Kristen Cole riding as fast as he can over to Aegon, now crashed over in the trees that we saw, riding over and hits the ground. But then we see Vhagar stepping on over everybody, and oh god, it's terrible. And then Vhagar recover, and we're not sure how hurt Meilise is, but we know that she's going back in for another kill. So then she goes back in to attack again, and much like what happened to Lucerys, where Vhagar just popped up out of nowhere, it happens the same way to poor Rhaenys. And Vhagar pops up out of nowhere and grabs her ass and grabs Meilise by the neck, and I have a full clip here of what happens to her. Oof. So Rhaenys and Meilise fall to their deaths, and you see the light flicker out of Meilise's eyes as she friggin' dies, and Rhaenys just holds on as she falls to her death and just opens her arms and just lets it happen. I was like devastated by this. I couldn't believe it. The actor that played Rhaenys, I fucking loved her so much. She was amazing. This whole episode, she really got to shine one more time. Oh, so amazing. I really loved it. And then we cut afterwards to this, and Meilise hit the ground and it kind of explodes. I kind of dig that too. I'm like, the impact of dragons hitting the ground, dying, makes like an explosion. I was like, okay, makes sense. But Sir Kristen Cole wakes up from him being knocked out, and he goes over to a soldier, and he kind of like, hey, come on, we need to go. And the body falls over. It's just a skeleton and ash, and it's real quiet on everywhere is quiet because everyone is burned or dead. And Cole sees Aemond walking over to the crash site of King Aegon, and sorry about that, y'all. Battery died, but Sir Kristen Cole sees Aemond about to go walk over to Aegon's crash site where him and Sunfire are down, and we're still not sure the you know, what happened there and the, you know, state of the injuries, if you would, where we kind of know for sure that Rhaenys and Meilise are dead, and we kind of know that Vhagar and Aemond are alright, but we still don't know what really is the repercussions of what happened to Aegon the King and Sunfire there. But that's going to be a big hit for the Greens. But Meilise and Rhaenys are going to be a ginormous hit for the Blacks, which is just very, very sad. But we see Aemond walking over to the crash site with his sword out, and he's about to sheath it, and Cole goes, Aemond! Thinking like he's going to go do something bad. And he's like, sheaths his blade and then bends over and picks up a knife, a dagger, if you would. Maybe you recognize this dagger from somewhere. I don't know. It's not just an important dagger. But I have a clip of this, so let's play this real quick.
Aemond! Where's his grace?
So we see Aemon pick up the dagger from King Viserys, the one that has Aegon's dream embedded in the blade if you heat it up further enough. And he goes, "Where's your grace?" And Aemon just points, and the way that he's holding this dagger and he just points to where his brother is and doesn't say anything. And we hear Sunfire faintly groaning and struggling to breathe. So we're wondering like, oh fuck, is Aegon dead? But he points, and we just start to kind of see a body clutched in, like, so Sunfire fell and Aegon was next to her, and Sunfire kind of like cocooned him around her, kind of cradling him, trying to protect him. I was like, oh, Sunfire really likes Aegon. They were very cutely bonded, and they were kind of snuggling when he was saddling her up and shit to go out, but Aegon was also shit-faced, so like maybe the booze is helping him survive in this moment. Yeah, so then Cole falls to his knees, and you could tell that he's like, oh no, what have I done? My idea, this whole battle, we were trying to draw out a dragon to steal one of theirs, we lost one of our own, our king is down. He goes, this is a bad look for me. And he's just like on his knees, and I could tell that Sir Kristen's first thoughts and only thoughts had to have been, fuck, your mother is certainly not going to forgive me now, I'm never going to get laid again. You know, like, fuck you, Sir Kristen. As he gets down on his knees to, like, you know, stand next to King Aegon, Aemon stands up and walks away. So Aemon is ready to go lead this battle by himself. He now has the dagger, that important dagger. So once again, weeks later, we're still coming back to that Rhaenyra quote, bring me Aemon Targaryen. I really want to see Aemon die by the hands of Daemon, but at the same time, I just want to see the two of them fight. I think it'll be really badass. But at the same time, I don't know if I want to see a dragon fight between the two of them, or if I want to see them hand-to-hand sword fight type of deal. Either way, this show is so freaking good, so much fun. You're just seeing everybody killing each other and what happens, and the fights between the families, and now the dragon v dragon, right? We never really had dragon v dragon like the way this show is going to show us in Game of Thrones. I mean, shit, there was only 3 dragons in Game of Thrones. This battle alone had 3 dragons, let alone what the show's gonna offer us. Like, great battle, great episode. This episode, though, was called The Red Dragon and the Gold, because you must have thought, you know, any of the troops that didn't burn or die on the ground must have been like, we were at the Battle of Rook's Rest, it was crazy, man, there was 2 dragons fighting. Oh yeah, which dragons? Who was on the back of them? I don't know, man, we couldn't see them, they were up in the sky, but we know it was a red one and a gold one, you know, like, and that's kind of where the name of the episode comes from, because obviously the red dragon is Rhaenys's dragon, and then the gold one was Sunfire, Aegon's dragon. But I thought this episode should have been called The Battle of Rook's Rest. But man, was this a great battle to watch and see. And in the previews for next week's episode, it's really heartbreaking. They're parading Meleys's head through the streets and, you know, saying, oh, behold, King Aegon's kill. And it's like, kill? He didn't kill it. The friggin' Vhagar did. Like, what are you talking about? But maybe that's Aemon's plan. Make Aegon look like this fallen king that really, you know, struck a heavy blow against the blacks. Make the greens look good. I don't know. But we also see, like, a casket. So, like, is that Rhaenys's body, or are they bringing back Aegon in that? Is Aegon dead? We really don't know. Is, you know, because from the books we know a little bit, but like the books have done many of times with this show, the books aren't necessarily exactly right? It's an unreliable narrator, but the show's been showing us what really happened type of shit. So I don't know, man. It's pretty wild shit, and I can't wait for next week's episode. But as far as this week's episode, the Greens lost Sunfire and Aegon's down. The Blacks definitely lost Rhaenys and Meleys, which is a very, very hard hit for the Blacks. But as far as we know right now, the Blacks still have that castle, but that castle was going to be easily taken, and now they don't really have a dragon protecting them, and they do have Vhagar still right outside, and Criston Cole and Sir Gawain. So I'm guessing the Greens took Rook's Rest, which is another big hit, and that one's now a small castle but closer to Dragonstone. So now they have Harrenhal and Dragonstone, but the Greens have pretty much everywhere else. and Harrenhal is pretty useless because it's just Damon, you know. So I don't know. Damon's got to regroup with Team Black, and Team Black's got to become more of a cohesive unit like they were originally in the show, because the Greens are definitely not a cohesive unit and do not work together and are definitely not acting as if they are a family. So the Blacks kind of act like family and you know, have Jace and, you know, Bela and actual family that are willing to fight with the family, for the family, where the Greens are kind of just sacrificing men on horses and soldiers, where like most of the actual Greens, like Allison's not, I don't even remember saying it, just cut out again on me. Oh fucking Christ, this video has been a struggle to make, guys. Comment below, what do you think of the new setup? Do you think I should go back to the old one? Because I definitely can, but this is definitely going to be my new Lego studio, if you will, my Lego collection room. But comment below what your thoughts are on House of the Dragon this last season. But yeah, the Blacks have been a tight-knit unit, and oh, that's where I was going. The Greens really haven't done shit themselves because Otto's not around, the other son Daeron's not around. Aemond, I guess, is ready to fucking kill everything, but he's really the cause-ish problem that started all of this, while he stole Vhagar and got his eye taken out and killed Luke, right? Like, so I don't know. It's a big mess, and it's family drama and squabbles, but it's really fantastic. But I had to get this episode up on Monday for you guys, so stay tuned for tomorrow. We'll have my normal weekly Comically Boston weekly nerdy news that will be coming up tomorrow. We had a big one there talking about everything that's been going on. We're going to talk a little bit about the boys. We're going to talk about everything going on. There should be a big trailer dropping tomorrow or two, so we'll talk about that. And obviously Deadpool Wolverine news, because that's endless, of course. And then stay tuned for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll have movie reviews coming out to the channel. A breakdown for The Acolyte, episode 6, 7, I don't know what we're on for that. So many shows, so many episodes. The Bear, just finished season 3 of that. Not my favorite season, but still a fantastic show. And they shot for season 3 and 4 back to back, so maybe they kind of rushed the writing a little bit on season 3. But hey, season 3 was still pretty damn good, and I can't wait for season 4. And The Acolyte's been great, so stay tuned for those breakdowns. Thank you to everyone that watched, and for the people watching these House of the Dragon breakdowns, I fucking love y'all. These videos are fun to make, and I love House of the Dragon, and watching this shit has been so fucking fun. The Battle of Rook's Rest was an intense one. So going into next week, I think the Greens kind of have a leg up. They have tripled their army. A lot of it just burned at the Battle of Rook's Rest, so we'll see the outcome and the repercussions and everything that happened from this episode. And I hope Rhaenys's body gets to be buried on Driftmark with Corlys and the rest of his family. And but at the same time, her body might have gotten flattened, because the way that Meleys fell, she was kind of underneath Meleys, and Meleys fell on her back. So I don't know. Rhaenys could have just got smushed, and there's no more Rhaenys shit. But I don't know. Maybe there will be. But man, what a sad episode. But stay tuned. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please, if you want to support the channel and support me further, like this video, comment below your thoughts on House of the Dragon. Where do you think we're going to go next? If you're a book reader, don't spoil it for the rest of us. But if you want to talk more about the books and more about House of the Dragon, I'm totally down. Message me on my other social medias. Link down in the description below. Email me at the Comically Boston email, comicallyboston@gmail.com. And my name is Big Cam. Thank you for watching. Subscribe buttons down below. It helps the channel a lot. Hit that bell so you don't miss future videos. My name is Big Cam again, and I'll see you beautiful people in the next video. Peace.